What up?
Ah, shit. Fucking taking a break from selling drugs in Schedule 1. Come talk with you.
Is it still Steam's most played game in the last week or whatever?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't even looked at that. It is fun. Highly recommended. New
Live on
and
Instagram, just a little late. Sorry about that.
Most played. Let's see. Because this is what we do. We look up drug games. It is the third most played game, but it is the first most played paid game.
Is it behind like what, Dota and something else?
Dota and Counter-Strike 2.
Oh yeah, Dota.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is episode 117. I always have to go back and look, and I'm still not confident that that's correct, but we'll roll with it.
It's plus or minus 3 or 4. Fuck it. It's fine.
We're gonna talk about beer software today, specifically BCOE&M, or technically BCOE&M.
Yep.
Because we don't really know BAP or Reggie because we've never ran competitions with those, and likely we won't be doing shows on them either. We'll talk about them as maybe like an entrant or something at some point in time.
I don't want to unnecessarily piss anybody off.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's other videos out there on that software. Maybe, I don't know. I actually have never watched a show on competition software, so we'll see how this goes. But before we start going into things, what you drinking?
High Life, Miller High Life, because again, I forgot to come over and get some of the IPA that we drink. It's probably going to be all gone now soon.
I was going to say, you need to do that soon. Like it's really hitting the spot. It may not be, a 44 point IPA or something like that, but it is certainly very good. I think there's only like a third of a keg left.
Just because Brandon Edwards shit on it doesn't mean it's not a great beer.
Nope. Nobody knows the results of any competition yet. So
yeah. I don't know what we're talking about. I'm digging some High Life. I do need to come and get some more of that. I do want to drink some more before it's gone. I really just want an excuse to come over and sit in your basement and drink more anyway. So
that's fair.
I will figure that out.
Maybe I can find a way to bring some to disc golf or something.
That would be spectacular.
See, Shane, I don't know if you're listening, but I guess that's the new excuse for a canning system, right? So
I support this.
That'll be the next toy.
Yeah, if I get a vote, I vote yes.
We'll see. Water softener first.
Nice.
That's our next big goal. No more orange stained showers. That's the goal.
I get it. What are you drinking? Are you drinking that tasty, delicious IPA?
So I wanted to, but that was my thought, as I didn't want to drink all of that beer before you got any, because I've been having like a big old mug a night probably, and so I'm drinking Goza instead.
Yeah.
It's the one that I brewed with a 50-50 pitch of Yoso 5 and Sour Visier, and it still turned out about as sour as everybody says that the beers made with just Sour Visier get. Like the pH reading I took was like 2.95 or something. But that said, I took it to the keepers meeting, and I would say maybe like 85% of the people there they seem to think it was too sour.
I thought it was in an acceptable range for a Goza. It's tart, but it's not like puckering.
Yeah. It's not like a teeth enamel peeling.
Yeah, and I think that the salinity of it balances it well. So I think you're pretty much ensured your 30 point for Jack of all.
Yeah, the last category that I need for Jack of all trades is 20 something, 23, I think, which is where Goza sits, and then I'll have it.
Yeah,
so that'll be fun.
Funny, which is the category I think I have the most in.
Speaking of, I don't have it with me. Tim, if you listen to this tomorrow, I have a MHP surprise for you. So get a hold of me.
Did you get a star or something for
I
him?
did get a star for him.
That's awesome.
I was like, oh, do I wait until the next keepers meeting, or do I get it to?
He's here.
Tim's here.
You get a star,
Doesn't listen
yay.
live. So I think Tim earned a silver star, which I don't think he received yet for entering 100 different homebrew comps. So I have that.
Badass. Congratulations.
I might owe somebody a bronze star too. I'm not 100% sure. They sent me my master or my Grandmaster 5 badge. They sent me Tim's silver star, but then they sent me a gold star too. And nobody in the club has earned a gold for anything, and those are like exceedingly rare. They're like you get one of those for taking like best of show at National Homebrew Competition, like kind of rare. And I'm wondering if like they meant to send me a bronze or like what happened. So I emailed them.
I was gonna say, do you get one for Grandmaster 5?
No, yeah, I emailed them to see what's up, and I'm waiting on their response for that. So, yeah, it's all yours, Tim. I'll let you have. Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, until they answer you, throw that on your collar. You know?
No, I'll sit it in a drawer, and then it'll be a reason to earn it, right?
Hell yeah.
Oh, they've sent Tim stuff on accident too. Yeah, I think things just like don't get marked off properly all the time. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what they say. So yeah, drinking the Goza.
Right on. Right on.
So BCOE&M. I guess the first thing we need to talk about, since this is like the next in our series of like running our homebrew competition, and I will, once I figure out how, because I'm not super YouTube educated, I'll kind of post a series of these videos if I can. I know that you can do that with regular videos. Live videos tend to be sectioned off into like a different area. Like if you go to our YouTube channel, it looks like we are a dead channel. Like we have like one video posted until you click on like the live section. And I haven't found a way to like default our channel to like display all of our live videos instead of their, regular ones. So I'll see if I can figure that out.
Yeah, I looked at it like a year ago and I was messing around with it. And I think what we have to do, or I think what I figured out we had to do is like re-upload the shows as actual videos. And I was like, that seems like a giant pain in the ass. And so I didn't do it. But for this series, I think it might be good. So
yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll take a look. So why, I guess, to start off, would you want to have a piece of software to run your homebrew competition? Why is it better than an Excel spreadsheet?
Well, so I think I'll step back a little bit and say, like, why do I want to talk about this? When we thought about the bigger kind of overarching list of shows that I wanted that we wanted to talk about for homebrew competitions, I thought it would be good to talk about software. And originally I was going to be like, let's compare, but we don't know the other software, like you said. And largely, I really feel like they're all going to do about the same thing. They do it slightly differently. So, if you want to use Reggie, cool. If you want to use BAP, cool. We use BCOE&M just because it's what we're familiar with. But the big piece of it too is I've seen competitions run, and I've been, and I'm sure you've been to competitions where they do organize stuff by spreadsheets, and they are kind of like doing a lot of incredibly manual work, organizing entries and tables and categories and judging. And
I have to imagine that that's how the Indiana State Fair was up until this year. But they use the same registration system as you used to like enter your cake and your horse. Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, hopefully they have some tool they can bounce in the back there, but they come at it a different way. And I don't know if Sandy or Gail ever watches this, they can answer it, but I would imagine too, they just have a lot more resources and people to help them do this. But I will say the first time we did Beer Cup, I dumped it all into a spreadsheet and sat there for hours late into a night talking with Gail, trying to organize shit. Since then I've learned the software, and it's just kind of to find out I don't even know what that means.
I think it's a Mr. Hands joke, except it was the
Okay.
opposite way around, maybe.
But there, I think my desire here was to make people that are looking at running a comp aware of what these tools can do and how much easier they can make your life. We were talking with with Brian from KVCC, like a month and a half ago or whatever, when we decided to kick off this. Oh, Gail's here. Hey, Gail. So Indiana Brewers Cup is using BAP this year. That's neat.
Well, that's what. Yeah, I don't know if
Yeah.
I.
Yeah, we were talking about previous years. Like, we don't know
Yeah,
what you guys did in the past,
Yep.
because you have that custom portal. But anyway, we're talking with Brian, and kind of brainstorming this. Hey, let's set up a little baby comp in like a couple of weeks just to get some exposure to the Kalamazoo Valley Community College Brewing or Sustainability Brewing and Sustainability Program. And Brian was saying to me, like, I don't know how to organize this, or what are we going to do? How are we going to get people's entries information, and where are they going to sign up, and how are we going to organize this stuff? And it was like, hey, there's software out there. There's lots of different softwares out there that will do this for you. It gives you a beautiful portal, lets you list all of the information that's critical for people that want to enter your competition, what your dates are, what your fees are, how many entries you have, what restrictions you have. Makes it very easy, at least from the BCOE&M aspect, by just setting up the program and hosting it either on your site or another service. You get basically a little self or ready-made competition website with all the information. It allows people to register themselves and their beers. It allows stewards and judges to register. It allows payments to be made to whatever PayPal, or I think that there's other payment services that it does.
Cash or check.
Cash or check.
Yeah, right now I think it's just PayPal.
But it kind of centralizes all the information that you would need to run a comp. You just fill out some really easy forms. And then more importantly, when it comes time to start organizing the competition, it actually eliminates the need for you to download spreadsheets. And thanks to Gail's idea, like 2 years ago, to just do queued judging, it eliminates the need for trying to sort stupid flights and segregate flights. And, it kind of just does all of the table setup for you once you assign judges, and, breaks it all out for you. So
does it give recommendations on like how many tables to split categories off into and things like that, or?
It doesn't really do that. There may be areas in the help section. I know that the team that put BCOE&M together, they do have a lot of kind of tool tips and helpful information. They do have a help section that kind of gives some best practice. They have some guides that they've written, how to organize a guide, or a competition organizer guide, how to, set up your PayPal, how to, do your scanning and all things like that. So they have some good guides out there. I haven't dug into all of them. But I don't think it's going to necessarily, the system isn't going to tell you, hey, you should limit, 5-6 beers per flight per judge pair or whatever. It's not going to give you that recommendation, but it really, one of the nice things that it does do is it references the entries in your competition, and it actually won't let you assign a judge or steward to a category where they have an entry, which is a big thing I've seen other competitions struggle with before. I know I help out in another comp on the other side of the state. And that was kind of a big thing, was watching the organizers sit there with, a list of entries and a list of judges and stewards, and be like needing to make those kind of last minute moves or day of moves because somebody didn't show up or somebody did, that they can slot in, and then trying to figure out like where they can go. The software does that for you, and it's pretty amazing. It just takes a lot of the pain out of it when you're sitting there and you've decided, okay, I've got, this many, we're going to do all the categories of beer. I can very easily see that, how many entries per category I have, and you can really quickly, run through and say, okay, we're going to need, one judge pair, two judge pairs, six judge pairs, whatever for each of those categories. And then you can just start plugging in your judges. And I know I'm kind of jumping around on it, but
No.
the judges, when they register, they get to say, hey, I don't like this, or I'd prefer to do that. So it shows you that when you pop up the menu and say, hey, I'm going to do IPAs, and it'll say, Brian loves IPAs. Or Tim really likes IPAs, but Tim can't because Tim's got an IPA in this category. So super, easy, kind of click through it and gives you a running count of which judges you have, how many you have in each category or each table, and, how many you have left to kind of assign out.
Yeah. Tim touched on this like a minute ago, but he says it's also nice to do queued because you get more of a mix of styles in your flight. You want to touch on like what queued judging is?
Yeah. So queued judging, typically we would do it with a category. So you might get some mixed, mixed subcategories. There are some smaller comps where I see them kind of lumped together, but we have enough entries where we don't do that to too many. But the nice thing about it is if you have 20 IPAs to judge and you've decided you're going to do 4 judge pairs, you don't have to sit there and try to say, entries 1 through 5 goes to judge pairs 1, entries, 6 through 10 go to judge pair 2, which is what I actually thought I needed to do in my first comp and what I was kind of trying to do. And then that was leading me to be like, well, then I got to separate, I got to kind of pre-sort, the different IPAs. I picked a bad category for an example, but
well, you can like lump specialty IPAs.
Yeah,
IPAs, so like black and hazy.
but you don't want to you don't want to have like a couple of blacks in this one and a couple of blacks in that one, and you want some kind of, what I was going for, I should say, was some kind of consistency. But with queue judging, you just say, hey, I got these 20 entries, I got these 4 judge pairs. At the beginning of the flight, the head steward can meet with the head judges and kind of decide what order they're going to set all 20 of the beers in, so they can go in and be like, hold on, let's put these triples at the very end, let's do the lighter American up front, and then we're going to follow that with maybe West Coast, or however they want to organize it. And then the stewards just go and grab beer 1 goes to judge pair 1, beer 2 goes to judge pair 2, and so on. And then whatever judge pair gets finished first gets the next, gets beer 5. And so what you're setting yourself up for is a mini boss, which I've fought this for years. I hate it. Bitched about this so many times, but it is what it is. And I've kind of resigned myself to it. But because you're dealing with multiple judge pairs, multiple palettes, you want to be able to circle back at the end and kind of do that mini boss setup, but you make the overall judging process go really easy. The stewards, they have the list they're working off of. Whichever judge pair looks like they're finished first gets the next beer, and you just move on. You don't have to really worry about, do I have 6 for this one and 7 for that one? If you've got a couple of judges that are knocking them out, maybe one judge pair does 7 or 8, the other judge pair may do 5. It really kind of helps smooth out the overall flight.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Thanks. Well, maybe we skip back to the beginning, like the software, like itself, a little bit. Like how do you get BCOE&M going? Like how do you get an installation, right? So
yeah, that's a great question, Brian. You should totally answer.
I will. I can do that. So there's 2 options for BCOE&M. One is a paid installation where you're having them as a company set up an instance for you. I don't think that they're doing that right now. I think that like he's kind of at capacity. The last time I looked, but the software is offered open source, free of charge for you to download and install on a server that you host yourself. So you have to have a little bit of technical expertise but there's instructions on the website in order to help set it up. So you can do it pretty much anywhere that you can host a website. Bluehost, DreamHost, DigitalOcean, if you run your own like server, things like that. So it helps to know somebody with a little bit of a knack for websites or something like that. But if you can read instructions and you have access to like a website with a little bit of backend access, it's pretty easy to set up. You basically copy all of the files up to a directory and go to the website and start clicking through all the options. You create your first account. You choose when your first judging date's going to be. You choose what the name of your competition is, like what beer styles you're going to have. If you're going to do mead cider, like all that stuff, it walks you all the way through it. So I don't want to get too much into like the weeds on how to install it, because there could probably be like it probably could, honestly. There's special things you have to do to maybe set up email and stuff like that, which we didn't do for KVCC, and apparently somebody tried to email us and like a question. I think it didn't come through, so sorry. But yeah, nothing too big or special there.
No, it's nice that it's a free, quote unquote free service that you can manage yourself. What I really like about it is that it's open source, because we have run into things where it doesn't do things quite the way we want to do it with the way that we run the comps. And I chuckled once, because I think I actually reached out to them, asked them a question like, hey, I think what we wanted to do is we wanted to be able to publish score sheets without publishing the awards. And that's because there's a little bit of a delay between when we're done and when we have an award ceremony. And we wanted to be able to give, the entrants their information, but we didn't want to kind of give away the surprise of who actually won. And going back to the mini boss thing that I mentioned before, just the high score isn't always, in fact, it's hardly ever the beer that wins, I swear to God, ever since I bitched about it. But they came back to me pretty quickly, and they're like, yeah, no, it doesn't do that, sorry. And then Brian just went in and rewrote the code, or that particular bit of code, and made it do it. So ours does now, and it's great.
Matt, I don't know if you saw Matt Bear. I don't know if he made a comment about it or a post or something, but he got a 44 for one of his entries in NHC first round. Did not place.
Yeah, I
mini boss will get you sometimes.
I've been there before.
Yeah,
actually think I might have gotten higher than that. But we have some Miguel's comments. That is, I want to jump back to. So she did say, yeah, okay, that's too far back. Certainly Q judging works better for more experienced judges, in her opinion. I totally agree. I think where we're lucky in Beer Cup is we have a lot of really experienced judges, and almost every table, because we do get Gail and Sandy and Mike Winnie and Doug and then all of the guys in Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo, that have trained up recently. We got a lot of good judges. And I'm always making sure to kind of balance those out with the newer folks. And last year I thought it went off without a hitch really, really well with Q judging. Q judging makes life so much easier. Q judging leads to, again, more mini bosses. And I do try to make a point of when I do have a smaller flight without multiple judge pairs, I do try to say, no mini boss. Let's keep it, as the scores. As a competition coordinator, and we've done episodes about this before, we've bitched about it before. I think I'm pretty sure I've talked with Gail and Sandy about it before. But I understand. I want to say I understand why we do a mini boss, and I understand that palettes can change, and more experienced judges can do a mini boss, and it's really a beauty contest at that point. And I understand why we do it. New people, or even, not even new people, but people that enter and don't participate in a competition, I think it's a really confusing aspect of the comp for them because of things like that, like Matt Bear. And I do feel your pain, buddy. Like Matt getting that 44 and then not even, passing on. And it's not that bad right now in NHC, right? Or the regionals, because you don't know what the other ones did, right? Every other beer in that flight could have been 48. But in a comp like Beer Cup, or I even saw it at I think at Brewers Cup, and talking to people, you're walking around with your score sheets, or you come home with your score sheets and you're like, this happened with me and Tim. Tim and I both had sour in a table. I think, say, Tim got a 45, I got a 42, and somebody else got a 39. I don't remember exactly. I got the gold, the 39 got the silver, and Tim with the 45 got the bronze. And when especially when you're in the same club and you're looking at score sheets together and you're like, and so we do every year get emails about that, like, what the heck, so and so got a 39 and they beat my 46 point beer. Actually, that happened to David Jones.
Yeah, I was just going to mention
46. And then you got Keith Drunk Monk, 37 best of show. Congrats again on that.
Yep.
So, but there's so much. What's the word I'm looking for, Brian? It's so subjective. Judging is so subjective, and I really do, I agree, like I said, with the mini boss, but it sucks to have to explain that every year to people. It is what it is.
That's why the guidelines exist. They are they're guidelines, not rules, but they're there to at least try to guide the judges to a more objective score. But we're humans, and tasting is inherently a biased thing.
I think the first year that we had full control over Beer Cup, I said I wasn't going to do any mini boss. I don't know. I think, and you and I fought about it.
We did. Yeah.
And then you wrote the judging instructions for me that was like, no mini boss. And then I think I sent them to Gail, and Gail's like, yeah, this isn't right. You got to have, I know, Gail, you're here listening, but, and you talked me out of it. And I get it. And it's funny. I like, 'cause she says we should refer to.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have to call it
for some other terminology.
Yeah.
It is what it is. She also asked if anybody's experienced electronic score sheets with BAP, or I'm sorry, BCOE&M. We haven't. I want to do it. I think maybe we're not going to do it this year for Beer Cup. So what it is the ability to fill out score sheets completely electronically, instead of filling out paper and then scanning them in. And my concern with doing it for Beer Cup is location and Wi-Fi coverage. I don't know that we have good enough internet there to do it. I'm going to check it out this year and kind of see, but it still makes me kind of concerned a little bit to have 50, 60 people on one access point probably, and having issues that way. So that's my hesitation there. I think it might be cool, Brian, if when we do the KVCC comp next year, maybe we try that with digital. I do know, like you said, I'm pretty sure I saw that BCOE&M has it.
They do. I've received, so I've never judged using their electronic score sheets, but I have received electronic score sheets that have been that have come from that judging, and they remind me more of traditional BJCP score sheets. They look basically like a written score sheet, just typed, whereas BAPs kind of come back like in the same way a little bit, but I think there's like BAP, depending on the way that you set up the score sheets, they have like, you can do like star ratings and stuff like that too. So I'm not quite sure if they're exactly the same, but I think that all the functionality that one has, the other pretty much does too. The only thing that BCOE&M does not have that I know BAP does is BAP tends to track like words typed and like the amount of like feedback that you're giving and stuff like that, and it will give you sort of like a roundup at the end of your judging of sort of like so you can get an idea of like of how you did, like how many words you wrote, like how
That's cool.
descriptive you were, things like that. Yeah. So Reggie, or not Reggie, but BCOE&M's more bare bones in that aspect. Yeah, it's just a sheet and you fill it out and hit submit and go. But
Matt's saying we might be able to pilot it at West Michigan Brew Off, and I'd be really interested in that, Matt.
Oh, I would love to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. We'd love to try it there. Yeah, let's see. And Gail says good feedback on electronic sheets. Judges only see front end, not the entrant feedback. Yeah, that's a good point.
I prefer receiving them over handwritten sheets because I feel like as everybody sort of gets, more into the, technology, people tend to, on average, be able to type a little bit faster than they can write. Plus, hand cramps, you don't have to deal with remembering pencils. You don't have to deal with broken lead. Erasing things is just hitting the, backspace button instead of digging out your eraser. You don't have like eraser marks on the score sheets. Like if you put down like a 10 and you have to drop a little bit for, your the person you're judging with down to like an 8, and you get the score sheet back and you can see, oh, there used to be a 10 here. Like this used to be like a 41, sort of thing.
I've done it
as a recipient. Yeah. So
I think the other thing, and there's a pros and cons to this too. I mean, doing the paperwork at the end is always a pain in the ass, even though when it comes to Beer Cup, I've got Lori, and I couldn't do without Lori, and Lori's amazing. So not trying to knock on that, but there's always somebody, Dimitri. There's always somebody that's going to dump a beer right on a score sheet, or the sheets get set in condensation and things like that. So it's like, hey, that'd be cool not to have to deal with. On the flip side, I don't want some judge to rage quit because somebody just dumped a beer on their new laptop either. And I know that's up to the judges if they want to bring their brand new laptop, but that's my only concern. It's like there's pros and cons there, but I definitely from an entrant standpoint see that getting them back digitally is far superior. Sorry, did you lose audio? Did Dimitri unplug you?
No, I just realized I've been using the wrong mic for this entire episode. Do I sound different? Okay. Yeah. Great. Fantastic. I feel like I do that like every other episode. Okay.
All right. What were your other questions?
So yeah, we talked about sort of like why you'd want to use it. We talked about setup and installation a little bit. Maybe we can talk about like customization and stuff like that too now, like being able to track like sponsors, which is like a huge thing, being able to like edit judging dates and like set up the award ceremony locations and things like that.
Yeah, it gives you that ability, right, to hold all of your comp data, not just not just the entries and information like that. And I think it's nice, like I said, to kind of have it builds that competition site for you, so you don't have to kind of replicate that out in other places. And I know we have had to move our comp dates before, and it was difficult. And I know they're doing a lot of improvements to the BJCP website, but it was difficult to move the date with the website before, and I actually had to like go through their web admin, who was really helpful. But it was just easier and kind of nicer to have it out, on our end, and communicate with the judges in that aspect. So I will say that. And then it does track. You have a place to put all of your sponsors, and it kind of tracks for you. It does your I don't want to say budget, but not budget. but it's going to tell you, like who's paid and who hasn't, and you got reports like here. Let me just pull up the reports.
Yeah,
the built-in reporting is pretty awesome as far as being able to pull reports on your tables, your judges, your organizers, your how much money you've collected, how much you haven't. Also down to anybody that enters any allergens, you can pull allergen reports so that you can make sure that you're telling judges and being really clear when a beer has peanuts or lactose or whatever that may be.
Tim is asking if we have the 23 and 22 beer cup results. I do not. When we took over the competition, we moved the website to a different server, but Dan may still have that. Theoretically, he may still have the database that all that stuff is stored in. Yeah, so, it would be a manual sort of export for him probably, but go ahead, Jason. Sorry.
Well, so we took over in 22. We helped in 22. We took over in 23. Yeah. So we do have. I have the 23 day. I have all the data that
20. Okay, you're right. 23 is on the website still. So if you go to like a comp.michiganbeercup.com, you can click on the 2023 results, and those will all still be there. So yeah, we don't have the 22.
I do.
Do you?
Yeah, because I did. I actually helped Dan and Nikki in 21. No, I'm looking at the 22. I forget when I started helping them, and I got a download of the.
Oh, like all the results. Oh, yeah. Very cool. Okay, awesome.
So I have a spreadsheet, Tim, that has all of the information for 22. If you just tell me what you want on the side, I'll get you the data. But yeah, anything past that, Dan Frechette would have, or if anybody would have it, Dan would have it. I'm not saying that Dan has it, though. I don't know that he backed up or kept records of that. But anything after 2022 and on, we have. And that's, again, a nice thing about having this application is being able to keep, kind of a historical record and archive. Yeah.
Without having to, and keeping it public too, there's some websites that go and move all this information to a separate part of their website, and it's like probably a huge pain in the butt to type all that out or copy paste that out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty nice. So not a whole lot more to say on customization. Probably it's like if you see a BCOE&M website, like any part of it that you can see, you can customize. Especially since, again, it's open source, you can go in and replace the verbiage on pretty much anything. You can set up different like user levels. So you can have kind of helpers that have accounts that can, say like do some basic administrative things, like scan and upload spreadsheets, but can't, actually like view scores and things like that, or like add or delete entries. We didn't talk about stewards yet. Setting up stewards is kind of the same as setting up judges.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna, the nice thing about stewards is you don't have to worry about like, I'm not going to steward smoked beers. No. Stewards are a little bit more flexible, but it does still do the same thing. Where it's going to say, hey, you shouldn't assign this steward because they've got a beer in this category. Where it fails, and since he's in the show, and I can make fun of it, is it does not tell you when somebody's wife is in that category, or the other way around. If the wife is stewarding, it doesn't tell you the husband's in the category.
Sure.
And that's actually been funny in the past. Nothing serious, but and that's a really light thing. Yeah, you got it. Because we've been to competitions before where they actually let the brewers steward their own shit. There's one competition we don't need to name that they think that's a good thing. I don't. But It does. It gives you that separation, gives you that kind of organization, and it's still gonna. The thing that I like the most about it is really trying to be able to be as prepared as possible. That's what I with Beer Cup. I want to be as prepared as possible, and so like this year. Or last year, I should say, we were able to send out emails to all the judges and all the stewards and say, judges, this is your partner. This is the category that you're doing in the morning, and this is what you're doing in the afternoon. And stewards, this is who you're stewarding for. Here's your judges, here's your table. And I thought I was just being anal, but I really had more than a dozen judges and stewards come up and say, like, that was a huge help to have them have that information ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, so it was super helpful. And the other nice thing about it is it gives you that view. It's all digital. It's in your face. And when you like we have every time, you get a steward or a judge that's a no-show or has to bow out because, I don't know, their wife's flight didn't come in time or whatever it was last year, Matt. and you're able to kind of look at, okay, this is who I've got, or this person walked in and here's where I need to slot them in. And here's your sheets. And here's, all the information that you need. So that's what I like the most about having this kind of software. And like, that's what I said for the people that don't know about these types of software. I think that's the shit that they think they have to do manually. And that's the biggest thing. If you're, again, the series is kind of geared towards people that are thinking about doing a competition or maybe have started or gotten involved in a competition and want to get better. You do not need to do anything with an Excel spreadsheet, except maybe at the end, and how you organize your award ceremony. I'd still do that. But yeah, this will really do it all for you, and really helps you get as organized as you possibly can. Ultimately, making the day more organized is going to make it go smoother and make the judges and the stewards all, happier, in a better mood, and hopefully enjoying the beer more and giving better scores. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of studies out there that show how many, different things affect the way that there's a lot of wine studies in particular, things that affect the perception of like wines, like environment, like the type of music that's being played, affects like scores and stuff like that. And so obviously mood probably does too. And yeah, we keep people happy and keep the scores high. That's what we want. Yeah.
Maybe we should try to do that.
Just some nice classical jazz or something. Yeah.
I was thinking death metal in the background, but yeah.
So I think those are the types of that's the type of music that gets like lower. Well, I'll go find a study. We'll figure it out.
Right on.
So all of our beers are entered now. The competition's closed. It's time to sort, which is one of the most manual, time-intensive like tasks that we have had to do as part of the competition. How does the software help with sorting?
So I think that sorting is probably one of the most difficult things that you can do as an organizer, or coordinator, or whatever you want to call it. And we have sorted 3 times now. And I feel like we've gotten better every time, but I also feel like we've got a lot of room for improvement. I actually think this year we're going to knock it out of the park, because I really have been. I've been thinking about this. This pissed me off so much. Last year was smooth, but it still pissed me off that we had to touch those bottles so many times.
Yeah.
And, it was just, I kind of daydreamed up this better solution. I've Googled about it. I haven't really found, anybody else talking about my ideas on how to sort. So some are close. But I will say this: if we get through this and my new sorting ideas work as good as I think they do, then we'll do like probably multiple shows, and I'll write.
We'll do a sorting show. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll write some posts about it and try to explain it.
Good.
But the software is great in that it will organize all your labels and gives you, it has ready to print Avery style, format labels. And you can say, whether you're a 2-bottle comp, a 3-bottle comp, or whatever. and it organizes your judging numbers versus your entrant numbers. So you have that, kind of separation, and it gives you all of that data that you need to go and sort. It just doesn't really help you with that sorting process, which, like I said, has been a colossal nightmare. Because sorting, and I think Matt said it a little bit earlier. Matt was talking about scoring, manually entering and scanning handwritten sheets is a lot of opportunity for error. I get that. I don't think we've ever had any actual errors with that. And I'm confident that I can usually go back and fix those. But man, if you don't tag that bottle of beer right, or you lose, the slip that it came in on, or you get them mixed up, you're fucked. That beer is gone. There's no recovering, there's no real paper trail to trace it back. And that's where sorting gives me anxiety. And which is why, when we started Beer Cup, or when we took over Beer Cup, we didn't start it by any means. There was a large group of people that were like, when are we sorting? Let's do a sorting party. And Brian and I were like, no, we're going to do this ourselves.
I want to add a context really quick. So what Jason's talking about with sorting and removing the label and adding a different label, this is the anonymization step of these entries. The label that a bottle is submitted with is removed and replaced with basically a random number. And that random number is all that you have to connect that bottle back to the brewer and the entry. And yeah, like he's saying, if you mislabel or you forget a label or it falls off or something, it's just an anonymous bottle. After that point, it's floating off in the ether.
And we did that the first time. So like I said, I didn't want to do a big sorting party. I wanted Brian and I to have the ability to just slowly, methodically figure it out ourselves without the distraction of other people, which we did, and it was great. But we got through 30, 40 bottles, and I'm taking the label off and I'm putting the new numbers on and I'm checking it into the system. So I'm good. But then I'm chucking the labels in the trash, or, the bottle labels that the entrant submits. And I go back and I'm like, shit, you're supposed to take the label off, tag that label, and tag the bottle with the same number, so that you have, and then you keep one of those labels. So I can always go back and say, I assigned this number to this label, and that number is that beer. That's your chain of custody. And we didn't do that at first.
No.
But luckily we didn't make any mistakes. And I've had it before, in the system. It lets you sit here, on your phone in BCOE&M, and it lets you check in, I think, up to 15 beers at a time. And I have seen it where maybe the website crashes, or, now BCOE&M is actually pretty good. I shouldn't bitch about it, but it does kind of write and save every time you enter a number. But I've also seen it where it's kind of gotten disconnected, or the Wi-Fi dropped, or we had some issues, and I did 2 or 3 and they didn't write or save, and it's then you got to kind of go back. And so it's stressful. And then I'm going to go into this really quick, because sorting is hard, and I know Gail said to check with this guy, and I will. I've talked to people, and I'm happy to talk to more people. But my ultimate issue with sorting, and what we've done in the past, is kind of organizing out all of the beers. So what we did last year is we took 1,000 bottles of beer, and we walk around it. We set out labels on tables, and we sit there and we walk around and we set out all the 21s, all the 22s, all the 23s. And then we go and we sit down with a box, and we sit down at that table and we check in each of those beers and we check them into the box. And I'm just like, Brian, that doesn't need to happen like that. We're touching it too many times there. There's no reason for us to sit here and go and sort all of these beers out into their respective piles and then go back and sit with them and check them into their box. What that does is it actually raises the risk for you to drop a bottle or knock a table over. We've got this really cool picture of us in Presidential with 1,000 bottles of beer on every table across the brewery. And I'm taking that picture and I'm like, what happens if somebody bumps that table?
Yeah.
And you just lost all this beer. So the change that we're making this year is we're actually going to set boxes out, and thanks to BCOE&M, it'll kind of tell me how many boxes I need. So, we've got, say we're going to have 25 boxes. And I'll be able to take an envelope and put it on the front of each of those boxes with labels, with 20. So every box holds 24 entries. So we'll have, 24 labels and envelopes taped to the front of every one of those boxes. And then you can just go and you can out of the delivery boxes, we can pick up the 2 entries. We can verify we have entry A and we have entry B, and they're category 22. And category 22 goes over in that box. I'll have a sign, and we can walk right over to that box, and we can take the label off the bottle, and we can instantly mark it and put it in the envelope for that box. And then we can label the beers, and we can set them in the boxes that there is their final destination. And so that's, it's a little bit more detailed than that and a little bit more nuanced, but that's ultimately the sorting method that we're going to try out this year. Is basically where you're taking the 2 entry bottles out of their packaging, walking them right to their box, verifying the data, tagging them, bagging them, and putting them in their final resting place. They're never sitting on a table. They're never getting bumped around, exactly where they're going. And it also means that you're not sitting there touching the beers multiple times. So we're going to work it out a little bit more detail, and I'll kind of write up my thoughts and instructions on how I get to what boxes they need to go in, and where I'm getting that mentality from. A lot of it's coming from BCOE&M. And then, and Matt, I'll call this out, like, you're right. Doing it the other way, you have labels left and you don't know whose entry or what. But in reality, it doesn't really matter what number you assign to the bottle, as long as you're marking. And BCOE&M, you get to mark down, the judging number you assign in the box that you put it in. And I know Keith's watching, he can jump in, but if he knows that it's in box 22, it doesn't matter if they're in perfect numerical order, or if they jump around. So that's why it's like, I think in this method in my head, and I'll go through it more, and we can talk about it offline. I just eliminate a lot of that shit. It's just pick up a beer, give it a number, put it in the box that it's supposed to go to for that category. I think it's going to go a lot smoother. Last year, to sort 1,000 bottles, it took us, me, you, Shayna, and David, 7 hours.
Yeah.
And if I don't cut that in half or more this time, I'm going to be pissed.
It will be, for sure. Yeah. I'm sure Jake would appreciate it too.
Yeah.
So that was sorting. Geez. We talked about flights already. We talked about judging and assigning judges. How about best of show placemats?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's really small, but it's kind of like, go ahead.
If you're on top of it, if as a coordinator, you're checking in, your stewards are bringing you their sheets at the end of their table, and you're entering that data back into BCOE&M, which is actually pretty easy. So I will go through and like key in all the scores, and then I hand off the sheets to Lori Kula, and Lori sits there and scans. And this year I'm excited because Lori's never been able to keep up with me. It's just not possible. The scanner's not fast enough. But this year we're going to have Lori and Shayna helping with paperwork. And so I'm actually thinking about just buying a second scanner.
I have a scanner. That's just like
then you have one. Okay. Yeah. Then we don't need it. So I think that would be really on top of it. But anyway, as long as you're entering your data and as it's kind of coming in, you're getting those, at least those final scores numbered and your places entered in. Then when it comes time for best of show, you hit a button and it actually prints out all of your placemats. It prints 6 per sheet. It has all the information. It has the judging number, the style, and then any special ingredients. It's all printed out for you. And I can tell you from the past where we've done this by hand, where we, I laughed because when we did our best of show last weekend for KVCC, I did that. I pulled out paper and I'm like, this, I'm drawing it out, but we only had 4 beers. So that's super easy. But when you've got 32 or more, having it print out the best of show tags for you is pretty awesome. Now, there was, what's the link that you just sent me? That guy in, was it Minneapolis, that did the 6 sub tables?
Didn't you send me that?
Did I send that to you? Oh man,
I think you sent me that.
I mean, I wasn't drunk. I was either drinking or smoking something. Let me see if I can find it really quick.
Or did somebody send it to both of us?
No, I think I did send it to you.
Oh no, somebody sent that to us, I think, or somebody sent it to you. You sent it to me. It's a whole thing.
It is a whole thing.
You're talking about the one with like kind of the category awards, though, right?
So, well, no, what the theory is, and I don't have the article in front of me, so I can't find it, but I will find it, and we'll talk about it some more. So you know, if you have 36, we'll say that if you have 36 categories, this gentleman organized and said these 6 categories are going to get kind of like a tertiary best of show, or like a mini best of show, so that these 6 are going to go together and they're going to get a best of show round, and they're going to get ranked, and you're going to have a winner of that or that sub round of 6. So that's going to happen for all 36 of your entries. So you're going to wind up with, instead of 36 beers in your final table, you're going to wind up with 6. And I did send it to you because you were like, yay, more awards, and I couldn't tell if you were being funny or excited.
Okay, well, I see what you're saying now. I actually read that wrong.
Yeah.
So what I was reading,
I can't
it
find
as was was they were going to group like all the dark IPAs and all the dark lagers and all the light lagers like together and things like that, and then like those would get their own special awards. Not that it was being filtered down to best of show more.
Yeah, so it's what happens. So what you do is you lump it together. You got all your light lagers, all your dark lagers, all your Belgian or European, all your sours. You've got them lumped together into like beers, and so you're able to say, hey, my American light lager was the best out of these 6 tables. So mine was the best light beer, but only that best beer goes on to the actual final best of show table.
Yeah. Okay.
And so what happens then is you have like 6 mini bosses. That's a bad word. We got to come up with a different word. But you have like 6 other kind of category bosses that then make your final table only 6 entries. It's an interesting article. I will find it. I will post it. It was on Facebook. I think it was in Competitive Homebrewing. The gentleman that wrote it commented and was answering some questions. I can't even remember his name right now. But what was cool about it is you got to give out 6 extra awards, because you got to say, not only did you get a gold medal in this category, but you were the best out of these 6 light beers, dark beers, whatever. And then those 6 best of category beers went on to the final best of show, which then determined your ultimate winner. And instead of having 36 beers on the best of show table and taking, I don't know, Gail, what did it take you that one year? 2.5 hours. It's done in a few minutes. And she's saying it's interesting what happens to the judge to style. So you're still judging as normal. You judge your categories. So every single category is going to have, first, second, and third place. And it's judged to style. But then it's just really breaking down that best of show final table into 6 different tables instead of 1. So it's,
go ahead.
Well, so it's as if you had 36 beers in front of you on a best of show table, and you judges decided that you're going to group them into 6 categories of 6. It's kind of the same thing, so you can go through and say, okay, and I've seen you guys kind of do this before. You don't do it that mathematically, but I have seen you go, okay, well, here's these 3 that are similar. Which one's the best? Right. And then you eliminate, and you kind of weed down to, pare down to smaller numbers that are manageable for you guys to have the conversations about. I think that's kind of what it does. Let me let me find this goddamn post.
I would like to see more details on that too. My question and my thought would be like, what if theoretically like a Schwarzbier, an international dark lager, and a Czech dark lager are like the undisputably best 3 beers like in the competition?
It does. You're right. That it would. Okay, here it is. It wasn't pulling up. I wonder if the post got deleted. Okay. All right. I'm going to try to expand this picture because I don't want to take credit. But let me try to present this and we'll explain. I know we're going off on a little tangent, but this is kind of cool.
That's our MO.
Select a tab to share. I'm going to share my Facebook tab. Okay. So here's what we're looking at. So this guy had pale beer, amber beer, dark beer, specialty beer, big beer, hoppy beer. So, he had ultimately, whatever this is, 18 categories of beer. And then, so each of these tables, individual tables, got their own first, second, and third place. And the first place beers from each of these tables, Boot Beer Fest. It's in the post here. So Travis Cherry is the guy that made the post. He is not the guy that did it. It was actually this Paul Petrie that came up with the this judging thing. And so it says it took what would have been an 18 beer straight best of round and broke it into more manageable chunks to isolate groups of winners and then push the final 6 to best of show. Each group winner will receive a custom tap handle, which is his award. And then the 6th final will go on to best of show. So it's an interesting idea. We're not going to do it this year at Beer Cup, but I want to think about it more. I want to talk about it more. I want to investigate this because there's logistics here where I like this idea because I think it can help us, reduce down the best of show. But in my head, I would like the same judges to do it. So in my mind, for, like last year I had Gail, Sandy, and Mike Winnie were my BOS judges. And so it'd be nice if after every one of these kind of sessions, I could have Gail, Sandy, and Mike go through and judge every one of these 6 things. So that it's instead of them doing a big best of show at the end, they're kind of doing it throughout the day. But the logistics of that is I also have them judging in 3 different categories or tables and, and then they need a break. And I know Sandy would chew my ass if I was like, no, Sandy, come and do this. Don't sit down. Don't take a break. Don't eat a sandwich.
Yeah.
Everybody would. So logistically, I think it's kind of a nightmare, but I'm interested in it. But to your point, it would kind of, if the 3 absolute best beers of the entire competition were all here in pale beer, it's gonna remove that. So something to talk about, something to think about. I was excited to see that somebody else out there is kind of trying to come up with new ideas.
Yeah, I like the I like the thought, and I like that people are trying to think outside the box a little bit because like a big 32 beer best of show it's a lot. It's a lot to even watch, let alone like probably do.
So let me see if I can share this post. I may not be able to because you may have to. Yeah, it's a private group. I can't share the post. If you're a member of Competitive Homebrewing Facebook page, then you can go in there and find this post. It was actually just done a couple of days ago, and you can read more about it. But all credit goes to Paul Petrie and then Travis Cherry for calling it out. I'm gonna grab another beer.
I just ran out of mine too. Sorry, I'm like I'm on the tail end of like a cold, so my nose is stuffy. So if I sound weird, oh, whoops. Did you click that? Oh, I clicked. Okay,
I did that. No, I wanted to call it out. I don't think it's. I mean, we can talk about it more, Gail, in the future because I'd like to pick your brain on it. I really don't think it like goes against the spirit of BJCP, but like Brian makes a good point of it, maybe not getting the absolute 3 best. It's interesting. I don't know. I want to think about it.
Yeah, we can talk. So best of show's done. It's time for Awards. So how does BJC or how does BCOE&M like help with awards, sorting and organizing and things?
So again, you get to kind of set up that information when you're, and if you want to talk about one of these, or if you know them, let me know and I'll shut the hell up.
No, you are like the organizer for all these. I do the back end technical stuff, and you are the you are the brains and the brawn.
So when you're programming the app or when you're setting it up, and out of the questions that it asks you, it asks you those kind of things like what kind of points do you want to assign to, for second and third, what kind of points do you want to assign to, best of show? Do you want us to track it by club? And it gives you all those options. And then, once you've plugged in all of the information, this will generate the report for you, and we'll actually publish it on the website when you're ready. And it does a nice report. It's very similar to like NHC style, where you get to log in and kind of see each table and the first, second, third, who won, what club, what beer. Does all of that for you. And it calculates the scores to, figure out club of the year, if you're going for that. Where it falls down, not falls down, but where it doesn't necessarily, where you still have to, falls short. Where it falls short and you still have to get involved is when you want to do those other awards. If you want to do that heavy metal, high gravity, those are two of ours. But if you want to do like that heavy metal award, you kind of got to go and drop it in a spreadsheet, sort it out, and figure out yourself. And then we're doing the high gravity award, which is our take on the Gambrinus award from NHC to kind of start recognizing smaller competitive clubs, so that it's not just a
numbers game
wins. Yeah. And that you kind of have to do on your own, because that's a custom calculation that we came up with based on the Gambrinus. I don't know if we got it exactly right, but it works for us.
I don't think it's exactly, but it's close. Yeah.
And then the other thing is I still find myself printing and kind of manually or by hand creating my awards ceremony. And that's just because of, as we've done it in years past, where we've randomized the categories, or we've, that's really it. We didn't do it this year, and I don't think we should do it again this coming year. I like just doing categories in order. But it lets you kind of do that. It lets you, you can sit there and kind of arrange your award ceremony how you want to see it and what information you want to include. Like, we like to call out like the funnier names, or we like to call out the beer names when we can. And we like to, kind of acknowledge clubs a little bit more, and it doesn't necessarily do that so much on the website. And the website, it just tells you like who won and who was the club of the year. So it's good, but it could be better.
So awards are done, and then it's time to make sure all of our judges get rewarded too, right? And our stewards and volunteers and stuff. So does it do anything to help out with like BJCP, like reporting?
Yes. Yeah, because you are able to, you have your judges sign in when they get there. You're able to go in and mark them present, and then you can easily pull up, all of their information. If they've put in their BJCP ID, you can log into the BJCP website and pretty easily kind of go through and make sure they get their points. I don't think it's possible to just upload a massive amount of points yet. I'm hoping someday in the future that we can have some kind of mass upload where, I can email a spreadsheet with
the new site is being worked on, as I understand it. Like, Gail can probably speak to it, but I did see that there's been updates. Apparently, like a accidental email got sent out as they were working on it yesterday. So to like some people. So yeah, sounds like something new and exciting is coming.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool if we could do, like I said, like a spreadsheet or a import. But if not, it's not a huge deal. Even with, my 60 judges, 80 with stewards, 80, 90, not a huge problem. It's not like, I don't know how many hundreds they need to have at Indiana Brewers Cup. but it does put it together nicely in a format that you can easily make sure that your judges and stewards get the credit they deserve in the tools. So she's saying you're correct. Hopefully, yeah, new things are coming, new improvements. That's going to be awesome. Excited about that. And then I would say the maybe I'm jumping your gun a little bit, but the other big thing and what we have been able to do the last 2 years is because we do go 100% scans, and all of our spreadsheets or all of our scan sheets are uploaded into the site. We're able to just send out the email to our entrants and tell them, hey, your sheets are on site, go get them. Where before we would go through all of this process of like taking 1,000 or more physical pieces of paper and trying to organize them into by club, and alphabetize them and all of this shit and make sure they're together. And then you go to Homebrew Fest and we're trying to like hand out like this envelopes for Kunin, and then all
the clubs get their own envelopes. Yeah.
Or somebody comes up and they're like, I just want my sheet. I don't want to take the clubs. And I think I wound up with like, I don't know, a couple reams of paper that I felt like I had to keep for a couple of years. Like there were tax returns. It was kind of a pain in the ass. And so the year before last or whatever, we just said they're all digital. They've been scanned. They're up there. I've got all the files. I keep multiple copies of the digital scans. I go through them like and visibly double check them. And then I chuck the paper. And so that's a huge time saving, time saver on us, that everybody can just go out and get their sheets. We usually do wait a couple of weeks, because like 2 years ago, I was learning my new scanner and I wasn't scanning at a high enough DPI setting. And so I had a lot of sheets that were really faint, and I had probably 30 people email me and they were like, hey, I can't read this, so I got to rescan it. That lesson was learned. I even think when I loaned Matt our scanner, I was like, make sure the DPI setting is high. Lesson learned last year. I think we only had 1 or 2 people come back and ask me to rescan. And it was really more of a paper feed issue. So, but then after that, like a couple weeks after Beer Fest, those things are going in the trash. Recycle or whatever. I do think I burned some. I used some to start a s'more fire.
Hopefully it was a couple of 46s or something. Tastes better that way.
But yeah, so then you're done. Your sheets are up. Your judges' points are awarded. Your steward points are awarded.
You have all the raw data for any other kind of reporting you want to do.
Yeah, and I've got these numbers. I love still playing with the spreadsheet. And when Tim asked earlier, I looked and I've got all of these Excel sheets of the past winners, but I have all that information that it gave me. And how we kind of scored tables and clubs and categories. And I know there are groups, like especially I know Master Homebrewer does it, where they, on the competitions that they participate in, they try to gather as much of this information as they can so that they can build some intelligence into it. I know they don't do it with Michigan Beer Cup right now because we're not on the circuit, but it's interesting.
There are some circuits that want that information, like the Midwest Homebrewer of the Year. We can just export that stuff out of the software and send it out.
Sanitize it, so I'm not giving out everybody's name and address, but here's all the scores. I even think, I want to say MHP even will, they tried to do some tracking to the judge level, like this judge gave these beers.
There's a couple of people that do that. Yeah.
Well, I don't do that. I will say that I do not go back and pull that report. So
these are like entrants that track who judged their beer and track who judges higher and lower and where they're from, and all these things. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's the last of the notes that I had. Your beer looks a little bit darker than a High Life there now.
High Life and Guinness, the two.
Out of a pineapple glass.
Yeah, always have to. Yeah.
Did you cut the what do they call it on a pineapple? I don't know. What are those like those diamond shapes? Did you cut the skin or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cut the diamond.
You bet. But no, I think, the biggest thing to take away from this is all of the wonderful things that a brewing competition software tool can do for you. We don't know. I couldn't tell you if Reggie, is paid or free, or, what BAP is. We can't speak to those. I know they each have their own different slight quirks. I'm sure some do better things than others, but I can pretty confidently say they pretty much all do the same thing. I actually want to go back and kind of challenge you, Brian. If BAP does better digital scorecard reporting back to the judges, then why can't you make BCOE&M do it?
Great. Yeah.
So next time you get drunk and bored, figure that out.
We can. All right.
But yeah, I would love to do digital scorecards at some point. It'd be great to try it with some smaller comps before we break into Beer Cup with it. But again, my biggest thing isn't the score sheet; it's the Wi-Fi at the location that we're judging at.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
All right, man. Anything else you got? Or I'm good.
No. I don't think so. We'll be back in a few weeks with the next show. Not quite sure what it is. I know we're going to do a show with Keith about cellar mastering and stewarding. We're going to have Brian Fisher back to talk about fundraising and getting money. And hopefully we can share a list of vendors that are really generous, like
BSG.
Thank you. I couldn't remember their acronyms. BSG always gives a lot of shit. Inkbird's always been really supportive. So we can kind of get into that to share that for other people that want to do comps. Lalamond. I don't want to go through all our vendors. We'll do that. And then Brian Fisher, is going to help talk about, kind of fighting the fight with going out and meeting with the local breweries. We really want to get more brewery involvement and brewery sponsorship. And so, as always, anybody watching this, if you know any breweries or you have any connections to breweries that you think they'd be interested in sponsoring a category or some other level of prize, let us know. But Brian Fisher's pretty amazing at going out there and drumming up the cash for us, because ultimately all of the cash that we collect for the competition outside of the food, supplies, and awards the medals, all of that goes back into prizes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So
I think we have some of the best prizes of any of the homebrew competitions that I enter throughout the year. So
yeah,
I'm pretty proud of that.
We aim to end the competition year with enough money in the bank to pay for next year's medals. And I think we've done that every time. And that's all that we're keeping. That's our buffer, is enough to pay for the medals. Everything else goes back to the entrance in some way, shape, or form. We had a massive, what's that called? Giveaway. Raffle?
The raffle? Yeah.
Thank you. We had a massive raffle last year. Everybody that got a medal won something, or took cash value prize home. Supporting Michigan businesses. I'd like to support more, but it's just a logistics kind of thing.
If you took a bronze last year, you do get a free entry in a beer cup this year. Yep. We'll have more details on how to redeem that, so to speak.
Yeah,
in a little bit, but
soon. So why don't we do that? What are our dates? Do you have those?
I can pull up the website. Yeah. So website's up. Registration is going to open up on May 15th at noon Eastern time, since we're in Michigan, and it will be open through July 9th. Judging is going to be a little over a week later on the 19th. And awards are going to be the third weekend of August.
The third Saturday of August. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do want to call out we are only judging or targeting to judge beer on the 19th. Unless I get flooded with judges, and then I'll slot some extra shit in. But my goal is that we're going to judge beer on the 19th. And then I am working on, once we open the comp in May, and I get an understanding kind of how the entries are split between cider and mead, we will set up a second date, most likely on the east side, between the 19th and Homebrew Fest, to do mead and cider. And it may have to be multiple dates. It may be smaller things. You know, I know last year we were able to do a lot of that stuff before, and we kind of had a mead night the night before, and we did cider like a couple days before at Tim's house, because we was able to get, 8-10 judges to come out. But we're going to do something like that again with mead and cider, but this time it's going to be after beer. But again, if we get 80 judges signed up, then we'll knock it all out on Saturday. So,
yep.
Yeah. Awesome. And then, so we'll be back in a few weeks with the next episode.
Sounds good, man.
We should be playing Dr. Dre now.
We'll figure out our new intro music later, and hopefully it won't get us removed from YouTube.
All right. Thanks for all the participation tonight, Gail, Tim, Matt. Appreciate you guys engaging. It's been a great conversation. Yeah, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the upcoming comps and shit.
All right. Have a good night.
Good night.
Cheers.